Hi there. Today's video is a very sweet card. I've done a home sweet home card with a little bit of a window view for you, and I'll show you how that was created. We are going to be using several different items here. I've got the little cat I'm using from the 3D window box and accessories set. The sentiment is going to be stamped and cut out with the Jessica die. I'm just going to be using the lower portion here from the arched window door set. Going to accent with the window shutter and Valence set. And then the stamps come from two different sets. I'm using the actual scene from the Through the Window, and the sentiment actually comes from the Home Comfort set. They're both been designed to fit the window. And then we're going to be using as backing some of the paper from the Classic Elegance collection. Pop these to the side. Now I've gone ahead and stamped the scene, and I've done a bit of coloring, but I still have a little bit more to do. So I thought I'll bring in some distress markers here, and I'll just show you what we're going to do. I've got the antique linen, so I'm just going to fill in a bit of the branches here and the bird's nest that's coming out. So just a tiny bit of color onto there. There we go. I'm going to use the pumice stone, and I'm going to color in the bird bath or fountain, whatever you want to call it there. Just add a little bit of highlights to that. There we go. And I'm going to bring in a little bit of water and a paintbrush and just kind of move that around a tiny bit, because your distress markers are reactive with water, so I can just get a really nice shadow if I just pull that color out from there. There we go, like that. And then a little bit of an edge of some blue going around in between some of the tree and whatnot, and just around the edge here and a little bit where that highlight part is, just to finish that off. Now this window stamp has been designed so that the actual window, it will extend past that. And the reason I did that is because if you want to use this, you don't want the edge of that window to show because you're looking through the window. So we're going to go ahead, I've cut out the lower part of the window, and I'm going to go ahead and just put it over the top of it. I'm going to use a little bit of spray glue on it. Pop that into place. And I'm using a double valance on this. So I'm going to take one of them, and I've just I've trimmed the top one, and the other one I've left full length, and there again it extends past the window so that you can actually cut it if you want it shorter. You can use it for borders and add extra bits to it if you like, but I'm going to double this up, so I'm just going to bring it in a little bit, seat it down a little bit on the low edge of that. Okay, give it a second. There we go. Now I've created a background using some of the pink shade from the Classic Elegance, and I've used one of the top borders and then a bottom border down here, different. So they kind of coordinate. They look like wallpaper. And to make it really sweet, I cut a longer strip of this in the middle, and I'm going to use that as like a little railing that goes between it. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And I've just added a tiny little white border behind it. There we go. So now I said I was going to do an extra valance. So this one I've cut to fit that window, but I want to just do a little bit of glue on the top of it here and just run a nice thin line of that. We are going to seat that just along the edge here. Get that in there. Give it a second. I want to just make sure that I can center it through here. There we go. Got a little bit too much. Okay. Oop. Put that back on there. There we go. And now I'm going to seat it over the image that we stamped. Okay. And there's a tiny bit of mounting foam that will hold that up a bit too behind it. Peel that off. Get that. And that. We'll center that right over the window so it's nice and tidy there. There we go. And now what I can do is I can take this top one and just give it a little bit of a curl, like it's got a bit of a wave in it. There we go. because I've trimmed that a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to pop that onto our backing. And there's a bit more mounting foam around the back here that I can use for that. And let me just see if I can get that one off there. A tiny bit more glue on the back here to seat that. Pop that right into our backing piece. Now there is a Home Sweet Home that I have stamped, and I've cut it out with the Jessica, added a little bit of mounting foam to the bottom of that. I'm going to pop that right on the bottom here. And I've cut 2 of the shutters. Now these actually are cut. You can lift them if you like, but I've used the back for the mounting foam. So I am going to place them on either side of here. So you're looking through the window with the shutters on the inside. There we go, right up to the edge of that. Nice and straight. And we're going to add a little kitty cat. Now I've cut this out and I want to do a little bit of inking just to change it and give it a little bit more realistic look to it. So I'm going to use some pumice stone, and I'm going to use a little bit of the antique linen. So I'm going to pick some up with my paintbrush and just do a really, really light spots on there. And you can kind of wash that down a little bit. Let's put a little on his tail and move some around here. Kind of like this is what I would call a calico cat. There we go. Let's put a little bit more of the gray in there, and this is a tiny bit dark, so there we go. Add a couple little spots on his tail, give him some color. Actually, I should say she. Calicos are always she's. There we go, and maybe one more down here. There we go, like that. And you can use the really fine end on the distress markers to add a little bit of color to our kitty. So I have a nice little collar on him. So you can see it just adds a little bit more of a dimension to your cat there. Now I've got one, I've added a tiny bit of mounting foam to the back. I'm going to peel that off. And we are going to seat our kitty right so he's sitting on the chair rail, looking out the window there, just as a cute little accent. How sweet is that? Super easy card to make, and it's just so lovely. Imagine this for somebody who's just moved into a new home or has been away for a while. I think this would be a lovely card to send them.